Welcome back, everybody, to the You Ask We podcast, the show where you ask the questions, they answer them, and I'm just the guy in the middle. In this episode, we got a versatile comedian with over 100 impressions. He's a freestyle rapper, and he also does sideline reporting for Max Live under the alias Sideline Suits, where his main emphasis is to come in style. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a warm welcome to my good friend SJ Tannenbaum. SJ, what's up?
Thank you very much for having me on the show, and it's a real honor to be here. I hope you've been doing well. We just had our little catch up before we started recording, so I'm glad to hear that you're up to some great things. And I've been good. I'm building up my social media agency, Gen Link Marketing. So if any of you guys know any Gen X or baby boomer business owners that need some social media help, feel free to refer them my way. I'll be finishing up my master's degree in digital marketing in May. So very much looking forward to graduating and just getting up, doing comedy and silent reporting. Life's been good. Thank God.
Congrats. And again, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. So normally, the first question on the show always comes from me, and that question is normally what's new. But this time, because it's New Year's, I want to ask, what's your New Year's resolutions?
Yeah. New Year's resolutions are definitely to put out more content. You know, um I definitely try to get up and perform live as much as possible, but I know that I've been a bit slow in terms of like producing content for social, which is ironic, being a social media marketer. So next year, I definitely want to see myself putting out content more often, improving the quality of my content, collaborating with others on more content, um, things of that nature. In addition to just, you know, advancing in my comedy and also social media careers.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, you can do it. You just have to like push. You gotta, if you want to upgrade the quality, you gotta spend a pretty penny, but it's very doable. Like you just have to stay consistent. If you stay consistent, you'll be great. Because end of
That's
the day,
facts.
yeah, end of the day, it's like the social media, like TikTok's algorithm, for example, very random. Like you don't know what's gonna blow up, what's not. So as long as you just stay consistent, eventually you're gonna be blessed. Because they bless the people that post and all that stuff.
That's a good way to think about it. What about you? What are your New Year's resolutions?
Ah, New Year's resolutions. Well, firstly, definitely be in better shape, you know, definitely be in better shape. Like box more, because I've been boxing here and there, but like toward the end of like this semester, I have literally like not moved for a solid month, like just studying for finals and this and all that stuff. So I definitely want to be in better shape, like go to boxing classes more. Um, and I mean, probably just be a better person than I was last year as a whole. I feel like that's something I strive to do every year, but yeah, just be a better person overall.
I like your resolutions better than mine. Maybe I had to take some notes out of your
Ah,
PR media book before my next interview.
I have I literally I don't have a PR media book at all. This is just me out here. That's all I
Love
got.
it. Love it.
Yeah, so let's get into some of these questions. A few people submitted questions about you and what you do. This first one comes from David. What got you into comedy in the first place?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I would say like maybe in high school, I saw these videos of Frank Caliendo's sets on David Letterman from about like 2006 or 2007. And you guys can, look these up on YouTube. I highly recommend them. I think they're great. And just watching like both his actual stand-up sets on the show as well as his interviews with David, and just seeing him like go through all the impressions and entertain everybody, and the crowd loved it. And he would be imitating people like George W. Bush and John Madden, Robin Williams, Norm Macdonald, rest in peace to both of them. Um, just seeing him have so much fun, David Letterman have so much fun, and the crowd really enjoy it. I got really inspired from that, and I thought, that's just something I would love to do. I would love to be on stage, be able to make people laugh, incorporate impressions into my stand-up material, and just have that unique angle into comedy. Because like I have so much respect for people who just perform jokes. Writing jokes extremely hard, but I've always had like kind of a personal preference towards like comedians that are more like performers or people who do characters, just because I've always just found that more engaging and entertaining. And so whether it comes to like impressionists or comedians who do like different voices, I've always really enjoyed watching those type of comics the most.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's like I was pretty much the same way. It's like it was just like when it comes to comedy, it's like you just find like one comedian that you fall in love in, and it's like that comedian is so good, he makes you think you're funny. Like, like,
Who's that comic for you?
huh?
Who's that comic for you?
Oh, for me it was Dave Chappelle. Like, I know, like in the more recent times, like he's a little more controversial than he was before, but it's like back in the day, like he was in his prime. No one was touching Dave Chappelle at his best. Like he just knows how to write a joke. He knows how to rope everyone in emotionally. And there are like a solid amount of jokes where he ropes everyone in, he gets them like sad about a situation, and then just delivers one line that just like makes everyone die of laughter. Like, you know?
Now that you mentioned Dave Chappelle, he's probably one of my, I mean, he's definitely one of my favorite comedians. But the reason that's like, I guess, insightful is because he doesn't really do characters that much. Like he's pretty straightforward. He has like, his delivery and he has his lines, but he's not really like an impressionist or a character person. But despite that, I think he's hysterical. So that's interesting you mentioned him. That just got me
And
thinking.
also And also, when you watch Chappelle's show, like he is able to do characters. Like he doesn't do characters in stand up, but like
Right.
he'll do characters like a lot, like during the skits, and that's what most people know him for. Like, oh, I'm Rick James, like that, and then like yeah, it's just like he's able to do that perfectly, but he's also able to just like get everyone with a story and like make people die of laughter from it. It's like to me, he like at least was like the best. Like in my opinion, like in his prime, he's the best ever. Like,
The best ever.
yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to best ever. He's definitely up there. I'd have to like really think about it if I had to like rank him. Like I love, it'll be so funny if like people had like, if people debated the best comics ever, like you see on YouTube Shorts, how people debate like the greatest basketball players ever, and it's like Dave Chappelle will never be Richard Pryor, and it's like, I always thought it was funny how like in the basketball debates, people are really set in their position. You never see anybody be converted in one of these videos. So I feel like with comedy, it's could be pretty similar. Maybe it's different. I don't know, but
This is just like Dave Chappelle had 10 Netflix specials. Like they're counting it like finals, like
he
appearance.
won 3 Grammys. The MVP awards, yeah. Or like Richard was in a different era. You can't compare the comics back then to the comics
Comedic
nowadays.
plumbers. Uh
Yeah, yeah. No, but I would say Dave Chappelle is one of the best. I don't know off the top of my head if I would say he's like top three, top five, top 10, but like when I think of like comedy greats, he's definitely there.
yeah. I feel like also like a thing that got me into comedy like at least a little bit was like in conversations, like people would just be like, "Oh, you should get into comedy. You'd be so funny." Like, has that happened a lot to you?
Um, I mean, yeah, there are times that like I'll make people laugh in conversations, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so funny. You should be a comedian." Or like mostly like my mom's friends and people like that. Um, but yeah, people are nice about it. Obviously, you got to be careful how much you say that you do comedy as a Jewish comic, because then people assume that's like your full 9 to 5, and
Yeah,
then it's kind of like
it's kind of
it's
like,
kind it's kind of like oh oh you do comedy like full time. Oh, very nice. Public service announcement, by the way, if like a Jewish person like 45 plus says like very nice to you in like a fairly passive way, that is the immediate signal that you've just like killed their whole day. They are like so disappointed with whatever you've told them that you've done, and they're trying to like pass it off as being like impressed, but like you
uh,
haven't gotten them on board. You'll see that with like if you're like you know oh our kids are just started college. Oh, nice. Where are they in school? One's at Harvard. Harvard, very nice. Where's the other one? Queens College. Queens College, very nice.
Jeez,
Beautiful, beautiful.
that's nuts.
But yeah, people are nice overall. People are cool about it.
Yeah, it's like I feel like you were one of the people that at least told me that a lot. Like, oh my God, have you ever like tried stand up? Like, you'd be great. But it's like,
I
I
definitely think you'd be great. I think Jack Terrell, my roommate, shout out Jack. I'm trying to get him to do stand up more because there's just when you see people like yourself and Jack and other people who are just so funny naturally in conversation, the inclination is just like, oh, I got to get you on stage and like in front of a crowd. But to be fair, it is so different when you're on stage because like you got to have more structure. You got to be able to like be funny not just among your friends but among like public audiences who may not know you as well. And like I've come to learn that even though I guess there are some people who are like hilarious naturally, um that skill doesn't always translate to stand up.
100%, 100%. Because it's like you also need to like if the crowd is not laughing with you, you gotta like push through. And it's like that's a very difficult thing for people to do if they're like not in the stand-up realm, you know? Like if you're like if
Yeah,
you tell a joke and like literally no one makes a peep, you just gotta keep pushing. You can't like think about it.
it's funny you mention that because I've noticed throughout my time doing stand up that um let's say you do a joke and it bombs, right? So some people naturally will try to like go over the top or put too much effort into making a hilarious joke about how they just bombed. And because the crowd can kind of like sense that it's fake and they're just trying to recover, they'll get more nervous and stay quiet. Whereas I've had a pretty good amount of success in terms of like, let's say a joke bombs, I'll just like make a comment off the cuff that's like natural, like in the moment, not trying to be funny, just like a regular thing I would say. And crowds find that genuinely funny because crowds just want to see something genuine, you know? They don't
Yeah.
they want to see like realness in comedy is very funny to people. So like if I bomb on a joke and I'm like, oh damn, wish that went better, that's not going to be so funny. But if I bomb on a joke and I'm like, mm-hmm, okay, that could come across much funnier just because it's so relatable. Like we've all had moments where something hasn't worked out, whether it's a text or a proposal or something, and we're just like, all right, all right.
Because we talked about like what got you into comedy and you mentioned a few like inspirations and stuff like that. So this question comes from Chris. Who inspires you as a comedian?
Yeah, great question, Chris. I have several comedic inspirations. I know this is going to seem kind of like a long list, but I like to give credit where credit is due, and these people I'm about to name really are big inspirations of mine. As I said, these comedians are really like more, not just like joke tellers, really like performers, characters. Um, and I would say like Frank Caliendo obviously is up there. He's like the first comedian impressionist that I ever saw. I would say Aries Spears, very, very underrated comedian, but extremely talented. I got a chance to see him and actually meet him after his show in the Stress Factory in New Brunswick. He was super nice, very talented. Sebastian Maniscalco, Jay Farrow. I also met Jay Farrow. I met him outside of a Marriott in the city. Also, super nice guy, very talented impressionist and rapper as well. Kevin Hart, Taylor Tomlinson, Eliza Schlesinger, Modi, and those are just a few off the top.
And it's like when you're looking for like an inspiration like as a comedian, it's like what do you look for like factors in a comedian that you would say like they inspire you? And like how do these comedians inspire you?
That's a good question. I would say they perform in some kind of way that I feel I could learn from, or they do something that I could apply to my own comedy. Whether it's like, you know, obviously, not stealing their material, but like if they have like the certain ways that they think about things or the certain angles that they attack issues on, maybe it's like a certain delivery or um something they do that I can apply to my comedy in like my own unique way. I'll draw from that for sure. Draw from those kind of comedians.
Yeah,
Even like joke structure also. But that joke structure is harder to apply because that gets kind of into the weaves and you can get into some dangerous territory if you're like taking joke structure. So I usually try to learn the best I can from other comics without obviously like plagiarizing or stealing.
true. I mean, I feel like normally when I look for like inspirations in, I guess anything fame related, I kind of look in inspirations in a sense where it's like, oh, if they suck, but they made it, how, like people
There's
like,
hope.
yeah, like people like Amy
Yeah.
Schumer, prime example. Like, oh, if Amy Schumer made it, like I got a chance at least, you know. I'm not saying it's a like I'm not a lock for sure. I gotta get a little bit more entertaining, but it's like once I do, there's a chance. Like
There's
like
hope.
for podcasting, it's Bobby Altoff.
She's great.
I hate her.
You
So
don't you why?
I oh man, it's like she's the opposite of everything my show stands for. It's like the whole thing with this, it's like I'm focused on like the person I bring on and like hyping
Yeah.
them and connecting them to the viewers because it's questions they want to know, right? Bobby, on the other hand, literally makes the person they're interviewing so uncomfortable for no reason. Plus, it's all like her own thing. Like she's the main character, even though like sitting right next to her is like Drake or Shaquille O'Neal. Like you're not better than Drake or Shaquille O'Neal. Like it does. Oh man, it gets me.
I
It
don't know.
gets
It seemed like Drake enjoyed that episode. I might have to beg to differ with you on that one.
no, but like I think he deleted posts like after or something like that where
Oh,
he's
did he? That's
some
interesting. Speaking of Drake, there's nothing I find more entertaining nowadays than watching clips of Drake win at roulette. I don't know if this has popped up on your feed,
it
but
hasn't.
like, but like I've been watching videos of Drake just like with his boys. Like he's watching roulette. He's got like you know $50,000 chips just like everywhere, and he'll win. And his reactions are so like casual and collected. Like he'll win. I think he won like $7 million on a roll of roulette, and he's just like, all right, let's go. Let's eat. We'll eat. We'll take that. We'll take that. Like so cool. Whereas everyone in the comments is just like, if I won $7 million, like I would cry. Like I would not have as like relaxed a reaction that Drake just had. But that's been a lot. That's been so funny.
He's just a very memeable guy, you know.
He's
Have you
dope.
seen the Anita Max win clips?
What?
The Anita Max win clips?
No.
There's a tiny like little cartoon character like on a hat that he had like some designer gave him or something like that. And he was just like, this is my alter ego. He shows the thing like to the camera and then he just starts going, Anita Max win. Anita Max win.
You'll have to send me some links. I don't know if you could share your screen, but I don't know if we can pull it up now. But
Yeah, I can't show it now because like for
I'll
some
check it
reason I'll
out.
get flagged for copyright or something. I'll send it to you later. Oh, that's great.
Fair.
That's really
Sounds
cool.
good.
This next question comes from Mary. What's your creative process for writing jokes?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had like a really like specific outline structure. I really don't. I've bought like every single book you can buy on joke writing and comedy, and I bought like Greg Dean's books and the Comedy Bible and all these different resources. But um, for me, it's really just been like if I think of something funny, I write it in my Google Keep app. I always also try to keep like a physical small notebook on me just in case my phone dies or isn't working for some reason. I like to write down ideas as well, and really just like stretching those ideas out over time. If I think of a punchline or a tag or a setup to add to that idea, I just add to it. Um, that's really all it is. I don't really like to write out jokes like entirely word for word because I feel like that kind of restricts me in terms of um
Like creative.
yeah,
Oh,
creative thing. I mean, look, let me say this. Like it's definitely important to have like if there's a very specific funny way that a joke should be delivered, it's definitely very important to deliver it in that exact wording and that exact structure, because a joke could be hilarious if said one way, and it could be like just not funny at all if said in a different way. But I like to stick to like exact wording if I think of it. If I think of an exact wording that's hilarious, I'll be like, okay, I'll stick to that exact wording. But right from the get go, in like the brainstorming phase, I don't like to restrict myself to like exact words. I like to be more conceptual and free flowing and kind of open minded. And then as I try to like solidify the joke further, I'll I'll specify it down to like specific wording. But I find that specific wording is just like obviously much harder to remember and a lot more restrictive. I have some friends who are really really incredible. Like they'll do like they'll go up for like 30 minutes or so, and I've seen them perform multiple times. And anytime they go up, their set will be like exactly pretty much more or less word for word from show to show to show. And it's super impressive. They do it off the top of their head. They don't like reference notes or anything. That's really impressive. That's just not like the way I operate.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's somewhat important to like have a little bit of improv when you're going up there because it helps you try new things and like you never know what works insanely well and what doesn't. Like you never know. Also,
Yeah.
I feel like, at least in my opinion, like living in New York makes joke writing a lot easier. Agree?
Because of the craziness that goes on living
I
in New
mean,
York.
yeah, you just gotta go on a subway like 3 times in a day and you'll have enough material for a 30-minute like show.
Yeah. The subway's a ride and a half.
Yeah.
I actually had a funny story on my my friend my friend me and his girlfriend were on the subway, and there were a group of people just like kind of singing like hymns, and I started like freestyle rapping with them, so that was really cool. um yeah, just a lot of fun. You never know what'll happen on a subway.
Yeah. I mean, one time one time me and a friend were riding on the subway also, like we were going to like a night out and we saw someone pull out his meth pipe, take a quick hit, and then started freestyle rapping. But at first he was kind of doing good because he was just like politicians be lying, China be dying, and like me and my
Okay,
like
okay.
listening close, like he may have something going on. He might have some bars over here. And then he starts going like, Trump is a lizard, like all the conspiracy stuff. And we're just like, oh, okay, yeah, he's nuts. And then like literally we just like switched parts like right after, but it's just like people.
It's like that story that Jimmy Fox tells of when Kanye came over to his house, and Jimmy Fox is like, it was like right out of a movie. This kid with like a broken jaw comes in, and he's like, I got some beats I want to show you. I think you'd murder these on these tracks. And then Jimmy Fox is like, well, let's see what the kid's got. That's what it reminds me of the subway when someone tries
Yeah,
to like
yeah,
rap or
yeah.
perform.
Me and my friend were just looking at this random homeless person with a meth pipe. It's just like we may have some undiscovered talent here. No, oh my God. And recently too, I actually went on a day trip to San Diego recently. And we walked past this one bar and some guy was in the front, I guess freestyle rapping. It was either freestyle rapping or he was singing Patty Cake by Kodak Black. And I'm not sure which one it is because he just kept repeating the line, I'm sipping on Bel Air, which like I found out is from Patty Cake by Kodak, but like he like Kodak says that line one time and then like he goes for the rest of the song, right? Like he actually raps. This guy just kept repeating, I'm sipping on Bel Air. I'm sipping on Bel Air. Like looking us dead in the eye and like repeating it over and over again. And like now with me and like my friends, it's like a bit, it's just like, what are you sipping on right now? Like it's a little bit of Bel Air, some water. This next question comes from Daniel because like a lot of your comedy is pretty much based around like your skill at doing impressions very well and stuff like that. So Daniel's question is, when and how did you find out that you were good at these impressions?
Yeah, so I was in eighth grade, and I was talking to a friend about a specific teacher we had in school. And in the conversation, I just started like imitating this teacher and some of the things he says. And the friend was like, "Hey, that's a really good impression. Like, it'd be funny if you like learned how to do like all the teachers and like did something like that for Purim. And that got me thinking like, yeah, I wonder like which of these like how many teachers I can learn to imitate. So that's kind of how I got started. So shout out Mishan Rosenzweig for being the friend that got me started, and shout out Rabbi Oppenheimer for being a great sport and a great teacher.
So it started from like teachers in your school, and then it became like just celebrities overall as a whole.
Yeah, it started off as teachers, friends, family, like people in my personal life, and then slowly but surely grew to I think around 100 impressions is what I say nowadays.
It's like, I actually remember it was funny. Um, because like we went to the same yeshiva, like Reishi, right? And I actually remember there was an alumni dinner one time, and as a little treat, you did impressions of all the rabbis from our yeshiva,
Mhm.
and every single one of them was spot on. I remember borderline choking on my food. Like I was dying of laughter. It was great. So
Yeah, shout out to Yeshiva Reshit in Israel and also
Really,
Yeshivas Birkas HaTorah, both places, and JC as well. All three places really were great places that embraced my impressions, and all the teachers in our band at all three of those institutions really allowed me to kind of poke fun at them, but also um, share the laughs with the whole communities in those various places. So very grateful for those opportunities.
I mean, uh, yeah. So this next question comes from Jenna. She wants to know what was your best experience during like stand up? Like, what was your best like stand up experience?
Best stand-up experience was definitely the new talent showcase at Gotham Comedy Club. Um, I really liked how the room was like really big and spacious as opposed to like a lot of other comedy clubs where the rooms can really be like very tight knit and like closed off. Um, closed, kind of like claustrophobic rooms can be good for comedy because it creates a much more like, intimate space and everyone feels a lot closer and connected. But I just liked how like the main room of Gotham was like big. It felt like more like a theater style kind of layout. Um, it felt like there were like 200 people there or so. So the crowd was great. The stage itself was very cool. I'd seen that background, the iconic like Gotham background on YouTube a bunch, and also just being part of like the new talent showcase with like my friends and family there. The set obviously went well. You could look it up on YouTube if you search like SJ Tannenbaum Gotham Comedy Club. So that was a lot of fun. That was probably the most fun I've had performing to date.
It's great. Um, yeah, I mean, I think my best experience like doing comedy was at Yeshiva University actually, because I mean, like that was the only time, really, you know, like that was the only times I ever really did it. It's like we would have these like open mic nights at like our college, and but it's also like to be fair, I feel like it's easy to make like YU kids laugh. I feel like it's pretty easy to do compared to like
Interesting.
the average person in New York, you know? Because it's
I don't
like,
know. There be some people. There are some people in the lineups for those open mics who might disagree with you on that.
yeah,
But
no, sure. But it's also like, I mean, like, it depends like how big the crowd is. Like, if there's a lot of like YP kids in the crowd, right? Like, if you just say one curse word, like everyone's just like, ooh, like this guy's edgy. Like,
should we define YP for anyone who doesn't know what that means?
yeah, so YP, I don't know what it stands for. I totally forgot. Yeshiva program, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, because our alma mater, Yeshiva University, basically they have a very strong emphasis on Jewish education, and they basically split the Jewish education branch of the school into four sections, like depending on like everyone's like strength in learning and stuff like that. So it pretty much ranges from like people with a very like a lower level of knowledge, and those are mostly people who don't come from religious households and stuff like that. And it ranges from there to YP, which is like the highest amount of like Judaica knowledge and stuff like that. And it's like those are the people who are a lot of them are on pace to like go into rabbinical studies and stuff like that. Um, I hope I explained that right. I'm not 100% sure. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, no,
Wait,
that sounded about right.
yeah. So
Um, but yeah, you always killed it at those open mics. I remember you always from the MTA get off my lawn bit, um, to the Ashkenaz versus Sephardi material. Try to think back and play like all your jokes in my head. But no, I think you were one of like the top performers at open mics. I'm glad that you got the opportunities to be part of those lineups.
yeah, I appreciate it. But it's also like, yeah, it was just like with some crowds, like with some crowds it was a little more difficult. Like, sure. But like there were some crowds where it was filled with a lot of like more religious kids, and if you curse like one time, they're just like, "Ooh, this guy's edgy. He's funny." Like, it's like I guess it's pretty simple from there. Like, I don't know. That might just be me. I'm not sure, but teach their own. Yeah, so now we got some anonymous questions that were submitted for you. The first one, do you have a joke that always kills that you're surprised about, or a joke that never performs well but you think is hilarious?
That's a good question. I don't really have a set joke that always kills that I'm surprised about because if a joke kills, um, I'm kind of hoping it will. But what I will say is that I am very surprised at like what we spoke about before. I'm very surprised at how often it is that if I do a joke and it doesn't do well, and I kind of like make some kind of like natural off the cuff comment just in reaction to it, it's surprising to me how often those natural reactions get laughs. Because as we spoke about before, like that could be kind of risky. Like sometimes when you like naturally react to a joke that bombed, the crowd might like it, the crowd might not like it. So thankfully, like um, I guess in the spur of the moment, my reactions to bombing, I guess, are funny to people. So that's good. A joke that never performs well, but you think is hilarious. I do this bit where I talk about my first time ever flying first class and kind of like the difference between how the stewardesses and flight attendants treat you when they realize you're flying first class versus coach. And part of that bit is like this whole monologue imitating like a first class flight attendant. So sometimes I'll say the reactions to that are either like a roarous applause or just like dead silent. But I'll do the monologue quickly.
Go for it.
It's like, yeah, it's like, you know, you get on the plane and it's such a difference between flying coach and flying first class. You know, if you're flying coach, it's just like you hand them your ticket and they tell you where you're sitting, you know, 3L, 4J, 15R. You get on the plane and you're flying first class, you hand them your ticket. Wow. Welcome to Delta One. Let me escort you to your seat, please. Right this way, sir. I'm going to take you to your seat. Welcome to Delta One, where we always try to exceed your expectations and make you comfortable. My name is Claire. I'll be your stewardess on this airline. Right here we have the Delta One care package, but includes but is not limited to toothbrush, a hairbrush, a moist towel, slippers, earbuds, headphones, and also some various types of internationally imported nuts. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to make your stay more uncomfortable. More comfortable. You'll also notice you have a 10.7-inch pull-out screen for your watching and/or listening pleasure. You can also enjoy games and other forms of entertainment. Please enjoy. And like, so yeah, people that tends to be pretty hit or miss.
Yeah, so this next question, next anonymous Q. What was the worst crowd you've ever performed in?
Mm. Um, it's a good question. I know other comics when they're on like news stations and they get asked this question, they're like very open about like roasting entire cities. I think in the Jewish community, it gets a little bit more tricky when you're talking about cities or venues and whatnot. I'll say this much. I'll say that the I guess the worst crowd, I don't like to call any crowd worse, but I'll say the crowd that I got I guess the worst reaction was probably a certain the crowd of a certain synagogue. I'll say in like the Bronx area. I'll leave it at that. But hopefully that keeps it anonymous enough.
Bronx Jews, get them. No,
But
nah.
no, even that was a fun show, part of a great lineup. But yeah, some nights you bring it, some nights you don't. Some nights it's, you know, something you're not doing well as a comic, and some nights you're just not a good match for the audience.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you're just gonna run into tough crowds here and there. It is what it is, you know?
You are. It is fun to hear different comics sharing like their bombing stories. That's always a good time.
Yeah.
Um, and for anyone who's watching this, who's like, you know, new to comedy or like just starting off, like if you watch any interviews with any bigger comedians, no comic is above bombing. Like every single comedian, the best comedians in the world, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Jerry Springer, Dave Chappelle, whoever, they've all bombed like lots and lots of times. And it's all part of the process of just getting better.
Yeah, true. Uh, yeah, so this next anonymous question, what's your favorite impressions to do as a whole?
Yeah, so we'll go through them real quick. My favorite impressions are like I love doing Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. You know, hello, Aiden. It's such a nice opportunity to be welcomed on your podcast. I understand the lineup of guests you've had in the past include people of quite some significant nature and talent. Bazinga. Love doing Sheldon Cooper. Bunch of Family Guy characters, specifically Peter, Joe, and Cleveland, are a lot of fun. Oh my God, it's Ed in Toronto, the host of Yap. Hey, is it Yap or is it Yop? I've never been quite sure. Because the AW could be a yaw, but it could also be a yow. I don't know. But it's great to be here, folks. Remember to eat vegetables. Number one podcast in the world. I don't even know who Jake Paul is. Peter, you can't go on a podcast and publicly shame other podcast hosts. It's considered unprofessional and it's kind of mean. Listen, Ed and Peter is appreciative of the opportunity to be here on your podcast, and he just needs some training to be more mature. Nonetheless, we appreciate the opportunity. I, I say it's great to be here on this wonderful podcast. I've seen you've had guests like international singers and you've had athletes and different types of celebrities. So I guess the one question that comes to mind is, what the heck are you doing having Peter on your show?
Yeah,
um,
the Cleveland one was really good.
Thanks. Also, George W. Bush is fun as well. I enjoy breaking out to some older impressions, some vintage retro, if you will. Yeah, suppose this might be for an older crowd, maybe millennials or Gen Zennials. Not sure what you call different people nowadays, but people who know George will appreciate George. And then there's always Charles Barkley. You know, I've seen a lot of good podcasts. No. There's a lot of good podcasts out there. There's a lot of talented hosts. But the way that Ed in Toronto, the way he gets into it with the questions, and then he asks you what's new with you, what's new with you. That's awesome to hear. Let me ask you some questions. Man, that guy's so fun to listen to. I loved watching that guy. That's a bad man.
By the way, speaking of George W. Bush, have you ever seen that video where he's just like doing a press conference at a golf course and he's just like, we cannot negotiate with these terrorists. We have to take them down. Now watch this draft. And then just
Listen, I mean, I like the. I've not seen that. But you'll send it to me later. But I like the I was saying I like doing the last five presidents. So that was Bush, and obviously you got Trump. So you got. Let me tell you something, folks. We've seen so many fantastic people nowadays. Everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. Melania's got a podcast. Jared's got a podcast, and me, myself, and my gardener have a podcast. But only some people really do a podcast. Well, I've seen Ed in Toronto's podcast for quite some time. It's so fantastic. Probably the biggest podcast we've seen in quite a while, folks. People who bash on the podcast and say it's bad, they're so nasty. They're so nasty. They're so jealous because they're not talented. But Ed didn't keep up the good work. I would tend to agree. I would say that Eden's podcast is probably, as some NBA fans might call it, the GOAT podcast. They might call it the Michael Jordan or LeBron James of podcasts. And to that notion, I would tend to agree. Sasha and Malia are big fans, by the way. So maybe give them a shout out or write them a postcard. This, I guess, slide into their DMs. But they love what you do. Um, you know, There's so many awesome podcasts out there, but I love watching Ed in Toronto. He's so talented. What a nice looking young boy. Shout out to any of the ladies out there. Send him a DM, send him a message, write him a letter. Let him know that you're interested, because you never know what might happen. Yeah. Folks, it's great to be here on Yop, or the the podcast with the screen that looks like the colors of Venmo. Um, Beautiful, wondrous questions and answers. I love it. It's phenomenal. Go vote Eden for podcast of the year. And yeah, it's the president's.
Great job. Nah, I feel like Joe Biden is also a pretty easy one to do too, because like you just have to be like, what?
Folks, it's a lot
What?
like, it's like, yeah, people, that's when you know that you got some work to do. And people I'll imitate the presidents as part of bits or like into themselves. And people in the past will like confuse I'll do Bush and I'll be like, oh, was that like Obama? Or I'll do like Trump and they'll be like, oh, was that like Biden? And like when people think that one impression is a different impression that sounds like nothing like it, that's when you know, like, okay, maybe your impression was a little off. Maybe you gotta put some more work into that. But yeah, the presidents have, I've been doing them for a while. They're a lot of fun. I also like to do this like micro impression of like Harry Potter. It's not like a big impression. It's just like a little thing I noticed from the movies where wherever he's like really confused, his words just start getting really choppy. So it's like, you know, Harry, Voldemort's coming to kill you. But Professor, but why me? I don't understand. Why now? Why here? Why me? And that could have been just like one scene from like Order of the Phoenix, but it just stuck with me so much in terms of like who Harry is. Just like always wondering like why he's the chosen one, like why, all these things are happening. And that kind of became like a Harry Potter like micro impression, I guess.
Yeah, and this person who submitted this question, they also asked like if you have a favorite impression that no one asks about. Is that it? Or
Yeah, so I don't really have like a favorite impression. I mean, yeah, I like doing the Sheldon Cooper and the Family Guy and the Presidents. Um, but I don't have like a personal preference of one that I like doing more than the other. It's just like a kind of a group of impressions that I like doing. So on that same notion, I also don't really have an opinion of what like my best impression is, because thank God, like people have a lot of different opinions of which one my best impression is. Some people say it's Barkley, some people say it's Obama, some people say it's Trump, some people say it's Peter Griffin. And so if there was like one impression that everyone agreed to was the best, I would probably say that one. But thank God, because there's pretty diverse opinions. I'll kind of just list some of the best as opposed to like one being the best. Another good one is the Israeli commercial. Love doing like a classic Israeli commercial impression. It's like anytime you're in Israel, if you're in like a taxi and they play the radio, it always seems like every single voiceover artist in Israeli commercials is on crack. And it doesn't matter what the product is at all. Like it could be like nursing homes or something. And it'll just be like, Shalom, wow, nursing homes. If you are old and you need work, nursing homes, very good. Nursing homes. And it's like, it's always like that loud, really fast guy and then the high pitched guy in the background. And they just seem to collab on everything.
yeah, no, it's like
It's a lot of fun.
have you ever seen the Head and Shoulders commercials over there?
No, that sounds
It's like
incredibly funny.
Head and Shoulders Ultraman. Like no, it's like when I was in yeshiva for a year, if I would be watching YouTube, that would be the only ad that comes up for me. They wouldn't even change it up. I'd get that ad 3 times in a row. Like it was nuts. Like
Those are the funniest ads where it's just all Hebrew and then the only English you can decipher is like the Israeli accent pronunciation of the English name. So like you said, like head and shoulders. It's like, oh, got you. Okay, it's a
oh,
dandruff
that's what you're
commercial.
selling.
What?
It's like, oh, that's what you're selling. Word.
Oh,
Oh, I
all
was
right then.
confused for a second.
It's
Okay,
funny. I think Zohan changed the world's entire impression of Israelis forever
at least for a bit. At
for
least,
a good 10 years or so.
yeah, somewhat. Yeah. This next
uh,
question, um, next anonymous question. what made you think of sideline suits? Like, what made you decide to commit to the bit of it all? You know?
Yeah, so transitioning now from comedy impressions to sideline reporting. Um, as many of you know, but some of you might not know, I have been the lead sideline reporter for Max Live, Yeshiva University's student-run broadcast network, for the last 3 seasons. This right now is my third and final season, as I'll be graduating for my master's in May. I will no longer be a student. But ever since I first started reporting for the Max in the 2021-2022 season, I knew that I wanted to wear suits when I reported, just because usually in the past, before me, the broadcast never had a sideline reporter for the Maccabees college basketball team. The only time that the broadcast had sideline reporters was for Sarachek, the popular high school basketball tournament in February. And that sideline reporter wouldn't do like segments and pieces on the air. They would just interview the coaches. So when I started off as a sideline reporter for Max Live for the college team, I wanted to really like set a strong precedent for what this role could be. So I knew I wanted to wear suits. I knew I wanted to like really, take fans and viewers really like inside the team via social media content, via, interesting post game questions, and really have like a lot of personality as opposed to just reporting stories and segments. And so along with that, um, along with wanting to really create the position of silent reporter for the college team broadcast as well, I knew I wanted a social media presence to accompany it. And so it was between like sideline suits and like, I'm trying to think, there was one other username that I was like kind of torn between, but ultimately sideline suits won in the end. And it's actually kind of funny because last year, Sarachek, my brother Yisroel, called a few games. And when he would transition it to me down on the floor for interviews, he would say, all right, going down now to baseline Blazers. And he'd have like interesting little variations of my nickname. Eddie Zucker, father of former Maccabee Matan Zucker, always likes to joke that SJ, my name, stands for sideline Jew. So people have had fun with my sideline suits moniker for a while. It's always fun to see. But that's pretty much how it got started, just from creating the social media presence and wearing suits.
That's awesome. Your YU's very own David Aldridge.
Yeah, I gotten all the Craig Sager, David Aldridge comparisons. I'll tell you a quick funny story. So Jack Terrell and I were trying out some bits with Alexa, and anyone who has an Alexa at home can try this. It should work. And first we asked Alexa, who is Ryan Terrell?
Oh,
And and Alexa said like Ryan Terrell is a professional basketball player for the Motor City Cruise. Like, oh, it's very cool that Alexa knows who he is. And then we asked Alexa, who is Jack Terrell? And Jack Terrell, if you know Jack, he's been in a couple projects and movies and whatnot. So Alexa was like, oh, Jack Terrell is an actor known for Brooklyn All American and Barry, which are two movies that he's been in. And we were like, that's pretty cool too. And then we were like, Alexa, who is Sideline Suits? And then Alexa goes, do you mean Craig Sager? And we're just like, oh, okay.
no, we don't. We don't.
No, no, we don't mean Craig Sager, but yeah, that's a real thing you can try.
That's cute. Yeah. So this next anonymous question: why do you never incorporate your humor into your basketball commentary? That's the question, not me. Like,
Yeah. No,
why?
it's a really good question. I think by nature, I tend to be like overly cautious about things. I'm not really a huge risk taker. You'll notice that, like, for instance, for the large majority of COVID and even a little bit after it, I still wore masks on the air, like even when doing interviews or segments. Um, so I tend to be a pretty conservative guy in that sense. I've always viewed like sideline reporting as like very separate than comedy and impressions. I've never really seen like a need or a reason to combine them, but it is a really funny idea. And like it would be kind of cool to like incorporate a little bit of like Ron Burgundy-ness into the silent reporting aspects. Like
Yeah,
usually my catchphrase has been like back to you guys in the booth. Not catchphrase, it's really just the way that I let the broadcasters know that I'm done with
like
my
you're signed
piece.
off. You're signed off.
Yeah, yeah. But it would be funny to be like, I don't know, finish a piece and be like, thank you, YU. Back to you guys in the booth. or something cheesy like that. I'm sure we can come up with something funny. But I'll think about it. It's a great question. It would be nice to incorporate some humor into some of the pieces.
Yeah, don't do the thank you, why you, but that's corny. I'm sorry.
We'll cut
That's
that out.
really
There's
corny.
there's one time that I did it in like a post game interview. I was interviewing Zevi Samet, and it was after a game where he had like 5 steals or something. And the way I opened the question was like, "Now, Zevi, the Bible says thou shalt not steal, but you clearly didn't care as you had 5 steals tonight." It was like, I don't know. It wasn't like funny, but it was an interesting way I thought to
That's good.
preface the question instead of just a regular. You had X points, X assists, X steals. You know, how did you do that? So people like that. Twitter is very supportive in that sense when I have a good segment or say something that people find interesting.
It's like you could do what NFL commentators do with like Taylor Swift, but instead like just use like rap lyrics to just sign off, and it's just like, and in the words of Lil Wayne, real G's move in silence like lasagna. You guys in the booth, like, or something like that, like that'd be funny. It's like all the NFL
That's a great
commentators
idea.
right now because of all the NFL commentators right now because of Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift. They're always just like, Travis Kelsey finds a blank space, baby, and he'll write his name. Like it's great bit, great bit.
That
So
is a great idea. And for those of you who um are fans of the Max or not, be sure to check out our next home broadcast on Monday night, January 22nd
sure,
against Wesleyan University.
check them out. Yeah, but in the meantime, though, the way the show works is the first question always comes from me, and the last question also always comes from me. And that last question is if you had to give one piece of advice to the people watching at home, what would you say to them?
Yeah. I would say definitely if you have something, whether it's like a skill or a passion or a talent that you know that you're good at, that you know that you care a lot about, don't ignore it or push it off because of what people tell you. I know it's very cliche and everyone's heard that before, but I think it's so critical just because, what bothers me a lot is if I feel like I'm not achieving my potential in different areas, whether it's comedy, whether it's impressions, rap, sideline reporting, etc., my career, whatever. If I feel like I'm not living up to my potential, it bothers me a lot, and it bothers me when I see other people who are so talented in certain areas and they just like decide not to pursue what they're talented in because somebody made a stupid comment and got under their skin, or they feel like they've received a little bit of negative feedback compared to like an overwhelming amount of positive feedback. And it's unfortunate to me that the small negative feedback sometimes can have a larger impact than the overwhelmingly positive feedback. So I would say if I had to give like one piece of advice to people watching, I would say find something you're good at, something that you're passionate about and you care about, and just pursue it, learn about it, get good at it, get a mentor, buy books, watch YouTube, go to, I don't want to call them networking events, but like go to events where you'll meet other like-minded people. So for me with comedy, that would be going to comedy clubs, networking with producers, trying to get booked on shows, meeting different comics. If you're, I mean, a rapper, I guess that would be going to like concerts, talking to agents, um, going to different like freestyle rap tournaments and whatnot. But yeah, just trying to really expand your talents and interests as far as they can go, regardless of what people say.
Don't ignore your passions, ladies and gentlemen. SJ, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. If you guys like this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys want to see what's going on with the show, who's coming on next, stuff like that, we actually have a giveaway coming on soon. So if you want to be a part of that, check out the socials. All the links are down below. And if you want to see what's going on with SJ, I'm going to put his links down below as well. And with that, this has been the You Ask Me podcast. Happy New Year. This has been SJ. My name is Evan Toronto. And I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.